Hi, this is the second film in my series about Bence farm in Hungary, and today we're going to be photographing bee eaters. Now this is a short drive from the farm, about 20-25 minutes away, and we stay there all day. There's 2 hides, 4 photographers, and during the lunchtime period there's a house with a room and some food where we can get some rest and nourishment. This is probably the longest walk we did from the vehicle to a hide. It's perhaps 150 metres or so.
Well, we've got the light on our side this morning.
Yeah.
And if we swap, we'll have the light on our side in the afternoon.
This way?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
How does it work? Do we swap hides or?
Yeah, you can swap anytime.
After a quick discussion, we decided to do 2-hour stints. So we would do from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, then we would swap over and do the other hide where you got backlighting for 2 hours, and the same in the afternoon. Now you have to be careful with one-way glass because it only works when it's dark inside the hide. If the sun is shining into the glass, you can see the people inside. Now there are some curtains which you can draw to solve that problem. Although there are bee eaters close to where we're staying, this colony is much larger. So it's about a 20-minute drive. And probably the reason it's so good for bee eaters is there's lots of horses. Lots of horses gives you lots of dung and then beetles and all sorts of insects that the bee eaters are going to thrive on. There's lots of perches for the birds to land on, and a lot of birds. Although they're a very attractive species and they're very gregarious, they do squabble a lot, as gregarious species often do. So there's a lot of fighting taking place. It's quite early on in their breeding cycle, so at this point they'll be digging holes into the bank and laying eggs. And constantly squabbling with each other, and mating too. The left-hand bird is winning this one. It's slowly toppling the right-hand bird over. Although I've photographed bee eaters many times before, you always feel the need to take a few portraits first, just to make sure you've got something. Coming in with a moth, and mating, and group shots. It's difficult to tell which ones are paired up and which ones are being aggressive to one another. Most of the nest holes are in the banks, but occasionally they nest on the flat ground, and that seemed a good place to start to do flight photography. Using Pro Capture, you know where the bird is when it leaps into the air, and the bird is initially not going too fast, allowing the autofocus to keep up with it. This is the more typical nesting site, and there was a lot of digging going on. And here, its partner visiting with some food. Bit of courtship feeding maybe, or maybe she's on eggs already. Trying to do flight shots as they land on the branches, again, Pro Capture makes this possible, but it won't autofocus, so you've got to pre-focus first. You can pre-focus on the branch, but then you try and focus just beyond the branch. And the trouble is, when they hit the branch is moving. It will come towards you. So it's difficult to know exactly where to focus. You just got to experiment. But an autofocus system that can cope with this hasn't been invented yet. The birds are just not in the picture long enough for the autofocus to grab onto them. Mating was taking place every few minutes, but you didn't know which branch it was going to be on. And other birds liked to get involved too. You can get flight shots as the bird leaves a perch, again using Pro Capture. And all the time I'm aiming at 2500 shutter speed. If that means I can close the lens down a little bit, gives me more depth of field, that's an advantage. But I only really worry about that shutter speed. A bit of courtship feeding, and then a bit of mating, but there's a difference here between stills photography and video. I really want the mating sequence from before they start to mate. Now that's difficult because you've got to predict it's going to happen, and you don't know. Notice the way the tail keeps spreading out as part of its display. My interest in wildlife has always been about behaviour. I've always liked being close to wildlife and watching them do things and interact. Now notice this pair here. Did the left-hand bird deliberately swipe the right-hand one? Then it's flown off, it comes round in a circle, lands again, gets very close, bangs up against the other bird. This was a common sight, this was happening a lot. The right-hand bird is now leaning forward, is she inviting copulation? But they're very intimate, pushing up against each other. Now because I want to record the mating from the start, I'm leaving the camera running here, and for some reason no consumer camera has got Pro Capture for video yet. I don't know why. Seems an obvious move. Here they're sunning themselves, and notice they synchronise, they're both doing it. They're puffing the feathers up so the sun is getting underneath the feathers. Then one starts to groom, the other starts to groom. This is a couple. They know each other well. Sunning itself by leaning sideways and then fluffing those feathers up, getting the sun sort of underneath the feathers. So here's a mating sequence. I've predicted it's going to happen, so we get it from the beginning. Now in the description underneath the video I will be putting a link to Bence website where you can go and read all about his setup, but although it's full of photographs of the hides and the wildlife you're likely to photograph, it doesn't tell you that much about the actual trip. So I'm going to try and fill in that gap a little bit here by telling what happened to us in our situation. Now there is an email address on the website, and if you send them an email, almost certainly the person that will respond to you is Andrea. Now Andrea has absolutely perfect English, and she has a style of writing that will make you feel good. She's particularly friendly and helpful. Now on the week that we were there were 14 photographers. We weren't all travelling together, people had come independently, but its normal routine is Saturday to Saturday. It's a full week. Now, it's quite likely that if you wanted to go for 3 days or 10 days, if they've got the space, they would probably accommodate you. But the normal is Saturday to Saturday. And of course, that makes it much easier for them because on the Saturday, they get extra staff in because they've got to clean out the rooms and change all the bedding, etc. So it is more convenient for them to do Saturday to Saturday. So we flew in to Budapest on the very earliest flight from London Heathrow with British Airways and got there at 11 o'clock. You need to be there for midday to meet up with everybody, then get to the farm. Now, you get from the airport to the farm by taxi, but Andrea will arrange that for you. She will book the taxi, and you don't have to pay for the taxi then. You pay for the taxi when you get to the farm. If there's other people also going to be at the airport, Andrea will try to match you all up so you can get one big taxi. So there was 5 of us met up at Budapest airport and shared a taxi. It ended up costing 60 euros per person each way, 120 euros in total. It's about a 90-minute journey. We flew with British Airways, by the way, which is currently my favourite airline to fly with, because the hand luggage limit is 23 kilo, the same as you can put in the hold as well. And from a photographer's point of view, that's very reassuring. You're not going to be stopped taking your bag into the cabin. Although, be aware, you don't want a camera bag with wheels on. They do tend to pick on bags with wheels on to say you can't take that on board no matter what the weight. So you'll be arriving at the farm early afternoon. They show you to your rooms, and then you go down for lunch. During the meal, they'll be allocating you to your hide that you're going to go into that afternoon. And that becomes a routine. When you sit down for your evening meal, they'll be talking about which hide you're going to go in the morning. And then the following lunchtime, which hide you're going to go in the afternoon. And there's usually opportunity to do each of the major hides twice, at least twice. The cost of the trip will include your food, your accommodation, the guides and the hides. Doesn't include alcoholic drinks, as very few tours do. Any other questions you got, Andrea is the perfect person to ask. Thanks for watching.